Welcome back to the channel. It's time to talk about what we perceive will be the worst comic book of the week. And this week we're going to hit Hellcat #1, Christopher Can't Write Well and Alex Linz on art. This is a Lane Kramer special, Doc, and we decided to hit it up for it.
I didn't hate it anywhere near as much as I expected to. I mean, it was a bad comic book, but it wasn't at the level that I expected. And I think the reason why is because there was no Iron Man here for Hellcat to shit on for 22 pages.
Definitely feels like the Tom King comparisons where people say Christopher Can't Write Well is the Tom King of Marvel Comics feel kind of justified here. You know, we saw Batman where Selina overshadows Batman and is the real hero of the story. We saw Iron Man where Hellcat overshadows Iron Man as the real hero of the story. But then when we get to Batman Catwoman, which really should have just been Catwoman with a little bit of Batman, he basically tears down Selina Kyle because he's a depressing, comic writer, and that's all that he knows. And that's kind of what Christopher Can't Write Well does here. He just goes out of his way to tear her down and show what a piece of crap she is.
It's all about ripping down Patsy, taking any of the, I guess, wholesomeness off of her character from when she was just Patsy Walker fashion model to Patsy Walker Hellcat, where she's kind of a shitty person, acts just really terrible towards people. It really kind of sucks.
The story itself is accomplished okay. We'll get to that part, but I'm with you. The characterization is really where this falls off, and it feels like Tom King. But I do want to mention the art first, which I thought was really strange in the comic. There is a style to it that is somewhat endearing. It kind of feels a little old school. But also, when she's in her costume and she's Hellcat, she almost doesn't fill it out. It almost looks like a girl wearing her dad's work outfit or something like that. She also has enormous paws like an actual cat, which I thought was a weird artistic styling. The art itself, I think, could have worked, but I think they missed the mark, and she never looks like a full-fledged hero, but I think that might have been the point.
It feels like she's wearing hand-me-down clothes, like a hand-me-down costume. I feel like he was going for like a Travis Charest way that clothes hang on people vibe, but pulling it off really poorly. She doesn't have a superhero physique in any way, shape, or form. She looks like your random chick at any gym that wore like a Spirit Halloween store costume that wasn't made out of anything tight. It was just kind of frumpy. They had like the weird big boots, as you pointed out, the big paw hand things that I don't see where that makes her look like a superhero in any way.
Yeah, it's a weird choice for the character since she's supposed to be like a model and stuff like that and supposed to be super sexy, but apparently that would be offensive to Christopher Can't Write Well to actually have a woman, an empowered woman, actually be viewed as sexy as well within the comic book. As much as I didn't like the art, it's the narrative really that breaks the story apart for me. The way that the story is told, it's just a bunch of images that aren't really connected. They're not really moving. There's no life to the comic book as she's, I don't know, leaving a voice message for this guy that she's dating about how he died.
It's a lot of different scenes with a lot of flashbacks to different points in her life. And then some of them are recent flashbacks, but some of them are years ago. And the recent flashbacks don't tell you how long ago it was, but all of the distant flashbacks tell you she's 6 years old. She's 16 years old. From a narrative perspective, if you're going to keep time stamping the flashbacks, when you do a recent flashback, you need to still time stamp it. The actual narrative and the timeline in this story is incredibly disjointed and jarring.
I agree. And then we get this page that I'm showing here as an example of all the introspection. She says, I self-medicate these days. I self most things, be honest. Hiding booze from my mom. Just like high school, although how much can you hide from a ghost? A nosy one at that. The pills are just prescription ibuprofen, but I still feel a shame in it, even as my face throbs from getting clock punched, kicked, and then slapped. I'm sure my old flame Tony Stark would have something to say about this recent coping mechanisms. Christopher Can't Write Well wrote this character literally for like 2.5 years straight, and we never got any indication that any of this was happening. As a character I don't even care about, it just bothers me that you just jumped all these enormous things happening in their life with no precursor or preamble to it.
And all he did was portray her as basically perfect, and then all she did was pick on all of Tony's flaws. I guess he put her in there to be the ideal to juxtapose Tony against, but then he gets her in a solo book and then suddenly just turns her into Tony.
That stuff bothered me. And then we're supposed to be rooting for this character, and she just comes off as a complete jerk. She's selling like papers for high school to this lady, Hetty, that apparently she hates because she has money and she's a beauty pageant winner. She ends up extorting like her last bit of pageant money out of her to write this paper for or whatever. And I'm supposed to be rooting for her. Like, haha, she got one over on the pretty girl whose parents have money. And I'm just going, what an absolute jerk. What an asshole. And then she's going to give this other dipshit that didn't do his paper, one on the house because she's out for the little guy. The character just comes off as spiteful.
Yeah, she really does. This is what I meant earlier when I said all it is a deconstruction of Patsy's character, basically trying to dirty up the Patsy that we all knew. Oh yeah, she's actually kind of a terrible person. But at the same time, the guy that dies in this comic that she had been seeing, she meets at this chick's party, this Hetty chick, 10 years later. She just treats this woman so terribly from the time she's a child, like the time that they're teenagers, until they're adults. She still plays fake friend with her, and we're supposed to take her as the protagonist here. She's a bitch. This entire comic, she's insufferable. At no point did they actually show that Hetty did anything wrong to her other than just being born wealthy and pretty. It doesn't show Hetty as a bad person in any way.
And then at the very end, we've got these flashbacks going on to when she was 6 years old, and it looks like she's leaving with her father, and they're leaving their mom. I think she calls him weak or something. The dad says, "I'm worried about you, Patricia." "Why, Daddy?" "Because, Patricia, it feels like the devil has his hand on your shoulder, and I just hope you choose the right road when it comes. Be good, kiddo," as he gets in his truck and leaves. So now she has really bad daddy issues too. This really is the fucking Tom King of comic books.
You have to give girls daddy issues and boys mommy issues. That was all he did during the Iron Man run. That's all Tom King did on Batman, and that's all he's going to do in this Hellcat book, give her mommy and daddy issues. I mean, we already had Patsy Walker, from what we know of her history, that her mom was overbearing, and that all the comics, the Patsy Walker comics, were actually fictions written by her mother, and that the Hellcat character is the real Patsy Walker. Stop trying to be so fucking meta. None of you are interestingly enough to do it, and all you do is lowest common denominator, mommy issues and daddy issues bullshit. And Ghost Mom gets to spend the entire time in this comic be an overbearing ghost mother to Patsy, so that we can somehow probably sympathize with her.
Why can't the dad have a 300ZX and like some of the other dads from the 80s and 90s, when they finally went out on their own, they left their kids behind, they all had a midlife crisis, got a sports car. Why has he got a fucking truck? These be true to life.
Unless it was, he's too working class, and I don't fucking know.
Well, I think I came away with the fact that he had to leave because the mom was a bitch and he couldn't take it anymore. It wasn't worth it.
Exactly. That was the feeling that I got. And Patsy's going to take the fact that he didn't take her with him as the reason why she's going to end up with daddy issues in this whole comic. So,
well, he don't really explain why he couldn't take her with him. It seemed like he was going to, and then he just decided, nah, I'll just leave you with your overbearing mother that I don't like. That'll be fun for you.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll work out perfectly well.
It could have been a lot worse, admittedly. The story is somewhat interesting. There is a mystery that needs to be solved, but once you get into the characterization, the art itself, I just thought was really odd for a superhero. She doesn't come off as a superhero. It looks like a little girl pretending to be a superhero. And then obviously the coup de grace itself is Patsy's got daddy issues. Couldn't see that one coming, Doc.
Yeah. But if there was any, silver lining to this comic, is that we did get a random way to reintroduce the Sleepwalker character. So any of you like Seven fans out there that still remember Sleepwalker from 1993, this is where you're going to get some story on that.
He's getting a little play in this comic book, Doc. Sounds like he's had a rough go of it.
Apparently so. And possibly he's the one that killed the boyfriend. Who knows? Likely.
I'm pretty sure it's not a Hellcat, but does it matter? I don't care. This isn't Hellcat anyway.
Yeah, it's this is a guy, the dude named Spalding something or other. I can't even be bothered to remember the dead guy's name. Guess what? He's just a random dead guy. He doesn't matter. So this mystery isn't all that interesting to me.
As I mentioned earlier in the video, Christopher Cantwell has been working with this Hellcat character for some time. Really, she was more of a plot device during his Iron Man run, where they used her to neuter the character of Tony Stark Iron Man. If you haven't seen this video, definitely check this one out. If you're new to Christopher Cantwell, there's also a link in the video description.